Hi, welcome to another episode of the Daily Alert of AMIDoctors.com. I want to let you know that we've been getting tremendous feedback from people saying how these podcasts have helped them manage through this whole crisis of the coronavirus. We're, a month into this major disruption of our economy and our routine of business as usual. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep people seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We've had some good news. Last week, we started hearing some of the light at the end of the tunnel, that the peak apparently has happened this weekend on Easter Sunday, and it'll start to decline. We've heard experts in New York, in California, and other parts of the country saying we're over the peak of the bell curve, and it's going to start in the decline now, which is great. I believe they also announced last week, the director of the CDC said that he believes they way overestimated the amount of deaths that are going to occur. They were talking 100,000 to 200,000. Then I hear more like 60,000, and some people saying even less than that. Now, we wouldn't want to see one death from this, but certainly a quarter of what they originally predicted is much better than what they originally predicted. And there's also some indication from different news sources saying that there might be some playing with stats. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard one reporter saying that the number of corona deaths was almost the exact same number of decrease in normal deaths from pneumonia this time of year. And, that makes you wonder, okay, what are we being told? All that aside, there is a coronavirus. There is a pandemic going on. It is very contagious. 98% of us, according to some experts, are going to get it and have a very mild reaction to it and overcome it. Some people say, no, it's going to be 85%, but it's somewhere between 85 and 98%. But we still care about the people who are compromised. So we are, the whole country's making a sacrifice. You're making a sacrifice. What we're trying to do with these podcasts is to keep you inspired and keep you focused on your role as a healthcare provider, bringing calm and information to your patients. And if we all do that across the country, we'll have a lot more sanity, because even in a scary time, no matter how bad this virus is or how bad it isn't, we're not going to debate that here. We are going to say it is a scary time. But panic never leads to good decisions as much as calmness does. So by having data, by having good information, you can then assess the situation for what it really is and make decisions to help your patients, help your practice, and help your family. So what we did on this episode is we're going to have 3 guests, and these are clients of AMI that have shared with us how our approach of going on social media has helped them with handling their patients and handling their business. All 3 of them had fears, some of them less than others, but they've confronted their fears and they faced it. So you're going to meet Dr. Matt Egbert tonight. He's from California, and he's going to explain to you about what he has done to handle this coronavirus pandemic and how it has kept him focused on keeping his practice going and helping his patients and serving his community by taking some of the pressure off of the local healthcare system. You're going to meet Dr. Yadira Santiago, who is in Houston, Texas, and she's going to share how she had some fears over this, but confronted her fears and said, you know what, people need help. She is going to tell us about why she came to that conclusion and how her mindset is changing what's happening to her practice. And then finally, we're going to meet Drs. Kyle and Savannah Lorenz from Wyoming, the least populated state in the nation, but still affected by this coronavirus. And they're going to talk about how they've handled it and what they're doing to keep their practice going. 3 different size practices. Been clients of various lengths. I think Kyle and Savannah have been a client for about a year. Dr. Matt Egbert is a little bit more than that, and Yadira Santiago is a client for just the last couple months. So let's sit back, listen to these people, and see if if their viewpoint, because it inspired me when I was talking to them preparing for the show. So let's see if they can inspire us some more by their viewpoint on what's happening and what they're going to do for their patients and their community. So welcome to another edition of the Daily Alert. Let's get started. Okay, hi guys. We're back here with Dr. Mike Carberry at the Daily Alert, amidoctors.com. And so we're talking to different clients that are weathering this storm like we are. And now we have the fortune to talk to Dr. Matt Egbert, who comes to us from Santa Maria, California, beautiful Central Coast. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. And Matt, your background, you went to Brigham Young University for undergrad, really good school, originally from Seattle, but then you went to Parker in Dallas to become a chiropractor. You told me a story which I'd like you to share, why you became a chiropractor, because it's a pretty powerful one. Do you mind sharing that?
Sure, yeah, I can share that story. So when I was about 8 years old, I was wrestling with a buddy of mine in front of school, and he kind of tackled me and pushed me off a little retaining wall and ended up flat on my back down on the sidewalk. And didn't know this, but at that time I fractured my L5, my fifth lumbar vertebrae on both sides, and went to several pediatricians, went to some chiropractors, did lots of things to try and figure out why my back was hurting and why it was giving me so much trouble. And nobody would take that injury seriously, including chiropractors and medical doctors. Nobody x-rayed it. Nobody took it to the next level. In fact, they tried to convince my mom that I was probably making up the pain that I was in.
Wow.
I know. It's astonishing to me now looking back as a provider. But anyway, so it was not until I was 15 or 16 years old, we switched and we went to a new chiropractor who took an x-ray. And then she came back in the room and said, well, you didn't tell me that you had a fractured lumbar spine. And that's when we figured out what happened.
Wow.
So that year we went to several different orthopedic surgeons and things. And I decided that maybe I wanted to have back surgery and fix this thing permanently rather than going to the chiropractor every once in a while. And it was a spinal surgeon that told me and kind of alerted me to the potential negative effects of having back surgery and how serious that could become for me, especially with things like, becoming paralyzed or losing control of my bowel and bladder function. And, I'm 16 and I'm thinking, this is not a good idea for me. And he said, well, why don't you continue to go to the chiropractor until that no longer works for you? Because if that's helping you, there's no reason to do the surgery. And that's what I did. And obviously it changed my life and became a chiropractor.
How about that? That is an amazing story. And I'm glad you made that decision because you're helping a lot of people now.
Thank you.
You've been a client with us since October of 2018. Integrated your practice then. Have you seen good results since then?
Absolutely. Yeah. It is amazing to see how much it opens the style of practice that we do. I love chiropractic. I love doing what I do. And I also love being able to offer additional services to people that are congruent with what I believe and offer them these additional products and find like-minded providers. Both the medical doctor and nurse practitioner we have on staff are very like-minded and we work well together. It's been phenomenal.
That's good. So you're moving along. You've had practice growth, I guess, since you've been a client of ours. And January hits, February hits, and then March hits, and Shazam, the whole country's on lockdown, pretty much, or close to it. So, tell me what happened to your practice, and then what have you been doing to cope with that?
Well, the first few days and weeks, I don't think we noticed much of a change in our flow. But then as it started to appear a little more serious to some of the people that were coming in, some of our patients and things, people started to get nervous. And so we started to see our numbers, a lot of people canceling and things, 20, 30% off of what our normal flow is. And so we decided we had to make some changes. Okay.
So you were down a little less than a third. Some people would say that's phenomenal, but that never feels good ever. So you had to deal with some things. What were some of the things to keep patients coming in? Did you communicate with your patients? And if you did, how did you do that? And what did you say?
Yeah. So, what was really helpful to me was you had the COVID-19 summit, right? And so you guys were sharing tons of videos. And so I was watching those things and I was actually scheduled to be in Salt Lake City for the training that got canceled the day that you had that summit. So I had a whole day with no patients. So I just watched that thing. I think it was like 7 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
And got tons of great ideas. And so the first thing that I did, as soon as that thing was over, in fact, I think I paused in the middle of it and I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. And I did some Facebook Live posts and I talked about the infection control that we were doing in the office. And so we're doing, you know, extra cleaning, all the things that we regularly do, except for more. And I brought from home, I have a really good air filtration system that I use at home that does viruses. It's a hyper filter system. So I brought that to the office. I showed that on another video. We talked about our disinfection practices and just kind of really tried to reassure them that we were doing everything that we could and that they were likely to be more healthy by coming in, getting their adjustments and getting their other medical services so they could stay healthy. We were trying to boost their immune system and stay open to support our community.
Fantastic. So did you reach out to everybody or just current patients, or did you reach out to?
So initially we reached out to all of our patients that were scheduled. We sent all a text message through Zingit, and then we also called all those people as well. And then we made special effort to make sure we were calling any of our kind of at-risk population, some of our seniors and things. And we made sure that they knew that, one, we were still open, and that, two, we were doing everything we can to make this the best environment for them. We additionally, you know, we started doing the screening at the door. We put the notice on the door. If you're coughing or sneezing or have a fever, those kind of things, don't come in. And we were doing that over phone and over text message as well. And then after that, then I started doing those Facebook Live videos, and then I started boosting those or paying for promotion on those videos as well, and we're getting lots of responses from that.
So not only did you get existing patients, did you get any new patients?
Absolutely. And one of the things that really helped was we were doing the nutritional support as well. So one of the things you had on there was biogenetics, and talked about the vitamin C, the glutathione, and the B12. So we added all those things to our arsenal, and then I started talking about those on Facebook Live and talking about those and sending text messages about those. Hey, boost your immune system. These are the products we have in stock. This is why we have them in stock, and this is how it helps. And we had, tons of people just coming that were not already patients coming in just to get those products from us.
Wow, that's amazing. So did your numbers start to normalize after that?
Yes, to some extent. We didn't get back 100% yet, but as we get those people coming in, and then we're offering additional, you know, just community support and kind of ideas and things that we learned from that summit about like the hand sanitizer refill station, doing the Facebook posts, doing those other things that we have. We've added vitamin B12 injections, like I know your practice did, and we're just offering as much kind of community support to as many people as we can, not just our existing patients. So we're getting more people that are seeing that and are getting to recognize us. Our Facebook followers have gone up, and we're getting some patients from that too. Yeah,
so it's a really brilliant strategy that you've employed, but you also have to have employees there to help you deliver. Did you have any panic or worry by your employees?
Yeah, for sure. They were worried, you know, those first few days when California issued that stay-at-home order. They were like, are we coming to work still, or what's going on? What are we going to do? I said, absolutely, we're coming to work. We've got to, you know, get through this. We got to support our people. If we shut the doors, where does that leave our people?
Right.
You know, urgent care or emergency room, and we definitely don't want our people ending up there. Their chances of getting exposed there are pretty darn high.
That's right.
We want to handle those, you know, I think it's number 2, number 3 things that drive people to those places outside of COVID-19, which is back pain and joint pain. And we can handle that. So we definitely didn't want to close. And so it was helping them understand that not only are we staying open, but now we're going to shift from our normal focus, and we're going to work on building people's immune response and giving them everything that they need nutrition wise, and helping them to stay motivated and encouraged, and even, you know, a place to go to get out of the house and come down and see us as a safe place and get the care that they need.
Yeah, you know, I've been interviewing several doctors, and I've heard this story that people are staying at home, and they're doing things they don't normally do, you know, trying to catch up on work they haven't done around the house, or reorganizing stuff, or moving stuff, or doing a garden, and they're hurting their back. They're getting hurt. They're hurting their shoulders. They're hurting their knees, and they're looking for a place to go. And, you know, it's amazing. We've had new patients coming in. Apparently you have new patients coming in. The doctor I spoke to before from Wyoming Kyle Lorenz, he's having new patients, him and his wife Savannah, coming in because they got hurt and there's not many other options to go to.
Right.
So wow, well done for you.
I think one of the things, Doc, is people that are working from home, they're usually working like at a kitchen table with a laptop, and the ergonomics are just terrible, you know?
That's right.
They're sitting in their bed, they're doing different things, or when they're not working, they're watching Netflix and they're just lounging about and not able to get the exercise. And so people are, I think once, here in the next week or two, we're going to see a ton of our existing patients calling and saying, man, I've been trying to stay away, I just can't, you know, and we're seeing some of that already.
Yeah, I think we're going to start pulling out of it faster. We mentioned this earlier in the show today that the director of the CDC announced, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, that they realized there's going to be a lot less deaths than they anticipated. And he used the word, I think he said, many, many, many less deaths than we anticipated. So that's all good news. People are going to want to start coming out. Yeah, they're the model that they went by, you know, it's like the hurricane models. There's always like 15 different models, and they always talk about the ones that are major disaster. Well, it's one of the ones that, you know, yeah, it did hit us, but it's a glancing blow, and we might pull out of this sooner than later, which is good news for everybody.
Absolutely.
But well done for you for taking the responsibility to your community to say, you know what, people still have health problems, and they're going to want to go somewhere. Let's unburden the healthcare emergency system, the ERs and the urgent cares, so that they can reserve their energy for the coronavirus, and you can help out doing your part. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you have to lay off any employees, or did you have any that want to take time off because of fear?
So we had a couple of employees that have kids at home, you know, schools are shut down. So they've had to take a day, half a day here and there to try and work that out. So they're trying to get the kids through homeschool plus, you know, working here. So we've had to do some juggling of, okay, you're going to be here full day this day, you're going to be half day. We've got some of that going on, but we're definitely not laying off people. I've worked really hard to get these people trained and capable. And that's the last thing I want to do is let that staff go.
Yeah, we have a really good staff, and we're very proud of them as well. We have given some time off because of similar reasons, but
sure.
You know, we haven't really let anybody go, and we're looking forward to this coming back to normal. How fast that's going to happen, we don't know, but we do know that if we can get through the worst part of it, which hopefully we already have, that coming out of it, we'll be doing just as strong and being, you know, I think what's going to happen with your clinic, like mine and many other doctors that are in our group, because we were there at a time of need, not just trying to push sales down their throat, but trying to help out the community, giving them good information, giving them good advice on boosting immune system, we will be recognized in the community a little bit better than we were before this crisis. So well done on your part. What has been challenging to you? How do you keep yourself motivated? What are you doing to keep yourself with your head above water?
You know what a big thing for me is the videos that you're putting together. Those videos, I mean, I can't imagine the amount of work and effort that you put into ramping up from nothing to having all that stuff within a matter of days. But that has been, I mean, life-saving for me, because it's motivational, it's informational, and it gives me things to do. And so one of the things we just finished doing was that we, you know, Medicare relaxed some of the issues with the DME.
Yeah.
And what a huge opportunity that was for our practice, because we hadn't done that certification yet to get the bracing approved through Medicare.
Right.
Now relax that at least temporarily. So we spent a few days kind of working on that and getting all the support. I think you assigned me like 2 additional coaches to do that. Plus, we had my regular coach. Plus, I got some help from Lisa at Gold Star to get stuff done so quickly. And now we have that as an additional thing. We're able to help people via telemedicine and help them out. Say, hey, we haven't seen you. We know you haven't been in, and we know you had back issues. How you feeling? And my staff makes those calls, and then there's, you know what, it's really hurting, but I just don't want to leave my house. We say, well, hey, you know, maybe we can teach you some stretches over a video chat, or I can email you a YouTube link. We can also send a brace to you and teach you how to put that on and get that ready for your back and go through that whole process with them. So that's been a huge benefit, not only to the business, but also to the patients, you know, that really are fearful to get out or they need something, you know, while they're in their home.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a calm voice that reassures them, that gives them that confidence to do that. So Dr. Matt Egbert, thank you so much for what you do for the community. Thank you for being on this show today. Is there anything you want to add before we break?
No, I think I thank you personally. I really appreciate you and Colleen, the team over there at AMI, because the value of what I've gotten from you through this crisis right now has been huge. And I know that I signed that deal with you for you to help me get to where I'm at already. But then you guys really stepped in and you said, we got to help people survive this. What can we give them now? And you've delivered just huge for me and for my community.
Thank you. You got to realize I do have a great team. There's people right now in this team helping to produce this for our webinar. So I do have a good support staff, but thank you so much for that acknowledgement. And the more we can give you, the more we will, because we want you to continue to succeed and help others. So thank you for being part of this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have another guest here on the Daily Alert, AMI's Daily Alert, and I want to welcome Dr. Yadira Santiago. Welcome, Yadira.
Hi.
She's originally from Puerto Rico. You came over to the States to start your professional career, and you were looking in speech pathology. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, but you quickly decided, through, I guess, influence from your husband, that you wanted to become a chiropractor, and through a couple of turns of events, you ended up in chiropractic school, first at Life, but you finished at Sherman, and you graduated in 2016, and you opened your practice in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
Okay, good. And so you've only been in practice for a couple of years. This year, January 25th, you signed on with AMI. Interestingly enough, Yadira is one of those people that can get things done very quickly, and usually when we have people sign on, they take about 3 months to get their first medical service delivered, sometimes 6 months and sometimes more. But Yadira was delivering her first medical service on March 16th. So well done on that. That was less than 2 months. It was actually like 6 weeks after you joined us. So really well done. And March 16th is right about the time this whole disaster hit. So how did that make you feel at the time?
Oh, it's scary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. Here you are launching into a whole new expansion of your business at the exact time the country gets shut down for a pandemic like we've never seen in any of our lifetimes. So, yeah, that's kind of scary. So before you actually had the coronavirus, I know you were getting the chiropractic started, the medical side started up, but how many visits were you seeing a day in your office, approximately?
We were seeing between a day like 30 to 35 visits a day.
Before the
virus, yeah.
Okay. And then, so did you say 35 visits a day or 40?
35 to 40 visits a day.
Okay. And then now after the virus hit, what are you seeing now?
We are seeing between 10 visits, 11 visits a day.
Okay. So that's a pretty big drop, pretty scary. So how did that affect your mindset?
So actually, the last week was the most dramatically drop of my patient visits, and that week was a little bit more scary and more stressed out. But at the end, on that Friday, we went to Home Depot, and then we see a lot of people buying a lot of construction stuff, and they're gonna do a lot of gardening. So that switched all my mindset, because I was start thinking, okay, those people that are doing a lot of gardening and a lot of housework, they're gonna get injured. So they will need help. So I have to be here for my community when they have back pain or neck pain. So that's why we decide and change everything and come ready to start on Monday to be ready to receive those patients.
So you just started that mindset last week, and you changed things for this week, and it's Friday now. How's it going so far?
So far it was great. So this week we closed 3 new patients with care plan of 30 visits.
Wow.
And those patients are cash patients. And and everything was on my mind. So I came here, I speak with my staff. I was ready to decrease the hours for this week, but then I changed my mind. I said, no, let's use the time that we don't have patients to do some training, to do some videos, because sometimes when we are busy, we don't have time to do all those stuff. So
Right.
we decide to do more training with the staff, more videos, do some ads. So I think
Okay.
that's a big change for us.
And your plan is to put these videos online?
Yes.
Have you done any of that yet?
Yeah, I did some of them, and I was doing some video like how you have to wash your hands correctly. And we are gonna do a webinar next week with my nurse practitioner about
Good.
immune system, vitamins, what type of exercise, stretches you can do at home. Because now a lot of people, they are just sitting down on the couch and they are not doing a lot of exercise. So the main goal here as a chiropractor and medical office is to keep you in track and keep you doing your exercise and your stretches at home.
Right. You know, we had Dr. John Rosa on as a guest on the Daily Alert. He was the former chair of New York Chiropractic College, and he's the only chiropractor on the White House opioid task force. And when he was on, he was saying it's important to remember that your circulatory system has a heart as a pump, but your immune system is your lymphatic system. And the only pump for that is using your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
So getting your patients to exercise is the best thing you could do for them. Have you been watching the Daily Alert?
Yep.
Have you find it helpful?
Yes, a lot.
Okay, how so?
So it's keep me in track to motivate me to do more stuff and to help more people.
Okay, good. And how about your staff? Do they listen to it at all, or do you have separate training for them?
Yeah, I just have separate training with them.
Okay, have you educated them on any of the information you've learned?
Yes, usually when I came here in the morning, I just sit with them and talk what are my plans for the week or for the day. And I think that is the key. If everybody as a team, we work together, I think that is gonna be a success for us. Because if I'm scared that I'm the owner, so everybody here on the staff, they're gonna be scared because they're gonna start thinking that they're gonna lose their job, they're not gonna have they're not gonna be able to pay anything, you know. So
Yeah.
we calm down, and I have to promote them that they are gonna be safe as well here at the office.
Yeah. So I could. Whoop! I got a little feedback there. There we go. I can tell you a secret. You can be scared. You just can't let your employees or your patients know it. So I'll tell you a quick story. In 2008, when the market crashed, my wife and I had just opened 3 clinics in 2007 in a state we never lived in, and in Tennessee. So we were running these clinics, and they got off the ground pretty quickly. And I remember I went up on a Tuesday from Atlanta. It's about a 2-hour drive to my closest clinic, which is Chattanooga. And the staff was all talking about, selling their house or getting a smaller apartment. And I'm like, what are you guys all talking about? And they said, well, this crisis, we're all going to lose our house. And because we're probably going to not have patients come in, and you're going to have to lay us off, and we're going to go out of business. And I started realizing they were just going crazy with this idea. So I called them all together. I even called a couple practices together. And I told them, I said, I just want to let you know that in times of economic duress, people tend to go to the doctor more, especially alternative doctors, because a lot of people, if they don't have insurance, they want a better way to stay healthy. They can't afford to be sick. And the whole staff calmed down. And I completely made that up.
Yeah.
Just to calm them down. And I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
It's everything on you. You have a negative mindset, you're going to start feeling sick. You're going to start feeling everything's getting worse. But if you have a positive, you're going to see everything different, and the energy around you is going to make everything happen.
That's right. So during that economic crisis, we actually grew in all 3 of our clinics. Never took a hit. So keeping that mindset, the mindset that you just described that you're sharing with your employees, and I guess sharing with your patients, is paramount to surviving this. Now, how have you been reaching out to your patient base? Have you been?
Yes. So basically, we are calling them every Monday. We are calling, and we are just touching base with them to make sure that they are doing their exercise, their stretches at home, and also if they have any new complaint that we can address by phone or help them.
Okay. Now, one thing you might want to add to that we've done in our clinic is give them information on how you're keeping the office extra clean and the steps you're taking to prevent anybody from catching the virus in your office. We've done that, and we've maintained about 60% of our patient base, but we started seeing, like you did last week, an increase in new patients. So if you show them that and constantly say that, hey, we're just taking steps to make sure that if you come in, we can help you. What we did is on our mat tables where we do our exercise, we put tape at 6 feet intervals so that people know how far apart they are when they're laying on the mat next to somebody else. And as soon as they get up, our staff who are wearing masks cleans the mat tables. We're taking temperatures of everybody that walks in the door, employees and patients. If they have a fever, we send them home. And then they have to handle that before they can come back. So these are just a couple ideas for you.
What I'm doing also that have helped me is I start cleaning everything in front of the patient as well.
Oh, you're cleaning it in front of the patient.
And I think after I start doing that, they're definitely more confident to come here because I say, okay, they feel more safe.
Well, you know, it's funny. I travel a lot, not so much in the last 4 weeks, but up until that point, I was on a plane at least 2 or 3 times a week. And as this coronavirus was kicking in, I've never seen this before, but I was on 2 flights where the flight attendants cleaned the bathroom twice during the flight. Never seen that in 30 years of flying. So that goes a long way. Actually, when I saw that, I thought, I guess I'm okay on these planes. They're keeping them clean. I also found out they're using ultraviolet lights on the planes in between, which kills bacteria and viruses. So the only thing I have to worry about is the person sitting next to me. But because I believe my immune system is strong. And did you hear about the study on stem cells?
Yes.
Yeah. So what my wife and I didn't realize is we got stem cells in January. I had a torn meniscus and she just wanted to get them for health purposes. So we went to our clinic in January and we both got injected for those purposes. We weren't thinking coronavirus at all. And when we came home, we found out later we were exposed to a couple people that had the coronavirus pretty closely, and we never got it. So I believe it was the stem cells that prevented us from getting that, because I remember saying to these people, boy, you're really sick. And they said, this is the worst cold I've ever had. There was 3 people that we ran into that way. And 2 of them we were with for an extended period of time, and we never got it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it is amazing, and it is, I don't know if you've seen it, but now the White House is pushing the idea of looking at studies with stem cells to treat people with coronavirus or to prevent it. Now, I don't want to necessarily treat them. I'll let the hospitals do that, because I don't want somebody to say, oh, since you've had people with the virus in your office, now we're going to quarantine your office. But by having this option of giving people ability to boost their immunity, we've also started Myers cocktails. Do you know what that is?
Yes,
You're doing that as well? Okay, good. It really does work. And the amount of vitamin C you want to put in that cocktail is a high amount. We're also telling people about the liposomal vitamin C. Have you seen that? So my wife and I have been using that, and our daughter has moved back to Oregon and is here with us, and she's not getting it. We have somebody that lives at the house to take care of the house when we're not here. She's taking it. She's not getting the virus. So the advice we're giving is actually what we're using personally to stay healthy. And I advise you to do that. One of the things I did for my staff is I bought each of my staff the biocidin, which is the thing that kills the viruses, and the liposomal vitamin C and glutathione, so they can keep their immune system up while they're treating patients. And they're using it. So I figured, even though it was kind of expensive, it was a good investment, because I have 24 staff. And, we wanted them to be healthy, and it was an investment into our team to make sure they could continue to deliver that service. So for the future, we're looking at this virus, and it looks like some of the indications are that in different parts of the country that curve is starting to flatten out and starting on a downtrend. We're probably going to have this with us for a few more weeks, but as it gets better and better, what is your plan to bring your patient base back to what it was?
So start calling back again and make sure they schedule the appointment right away and start rocking again. We was
Yeah.
ready to start treating new patient and my existing patient with the new services.
Hmm.
So I think we are so motivated and we are so anxious to this pandemic end and start implementing the new services. And
Okay.
the patient, they love the idea that we integrate our office and we are providing those new services. I mean, the feedback that I'm receiving from patients is that now they feel that they are in the best clinic ever.
Yeah. Well, that's important because what you're doing is you're showing them you care. And the only reason you would do that is if you do care. And when a patient realizes a doctor cares about them, that becomes their doctor for life. So well done on what you're doing. Now, your nurse practitioner, you just got started with her. So she's part-time now. Is that true?
Yeah, she's part-time, but I'm looking forward to have her full-time as soon as possible. She's really,
Okay.
and we have kind of the same personality. She's not Hispanic, she's American, and she's learning Spanish and I'm learning more English. But the chemistry that we have, we are very similar, and I think that is the best that could happen because patient is gonna see that we are very similar and we like to take care of patient.
Good. Well, what you can do, because you're going to do a podcast with her on building immunity, correct?
Yeah, so yeah.
So if you look at the interviews I have two of them with Dr. Brad Watts. He talks an awful lot about the science. So if she hasn't seen them, let her watch them.
Okay.
And then let her listen to Dr. John Rosa as well, because they talk about immunity as well. And she'll get some good insight on it. It sounds like she's a great learner. Once we get back into our normal routine, we will start up our trainings again. It's very important that you bring your nurse practitioner to the trainings so they can understand the idea of what we're doing and get the training hands-on for the rehab. So, yeah, that's a good plan. And I hope that not only yourself and your practice, but all of us get back to business as usual in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
For
us, for me, it's more like a little bit easier because we used to do a lot of rehab as well. The office, we do chiropractic biophysics. So we are used to do a lot of rehab, but for her, it's something new. So we had to train and say, and now she understanding and say, wow, I have been in other chiropractic offices and they don't really care about the patient. They just do adjustment and that's it. I say, no, we can do more and we can help as much as we can our patient. That's what I love and that's my passion to be.
Yeah. Well, your most valuable asset is your reputation. It seems like you know that. When you come to the training, the next training we do for the rehab, look at our rehab because people who do biophysics or Pedibond, it blends in perfectly. And our rehab is based upon upper cross and lower cross syndrome with Dr. Yanda. So I think you guys will really like it. And we have all the videos broken down individually so she can get trained very easily. So have her start looking at that as well. And it was a pleasure to interview you today. Good job on what you've done so far. You know, you got hit with this kind of blindsided from it right from the beginning, but that didn't stop you and you're still going. And that's why you're going to be super successful. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Okay, so we have a very special guest here on this segment of the Daily Alert. And we want to welcome Dr. Kyle Lorenz. Kyle, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Mark.
No problem. So Kyle is a chiropractor originally from Wisconsin, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and you went to the University of Wisconsin for your undergrad and graduated from Palmer in 2011, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and then your wife, Savannah, is also a chiropractor. You met in chiropractic school?
Yes, we did, yeah.
Okay, good. And up until just a few months ago, you had 2 children. Now you have 3 children, and you moved to Wyoming because that's where Savannah is from, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good. So do you want to tell us anything else about yourself? What kind of why did you become a chiropractor and so forth?
Well, so initially I grew up in a chiropractic family. My dad was a chiropractor from since 1984. And then his sister actually went into school, decided to go against nursing school and went into chiropractic school as well too. My dad did have a couple practices in some rural communities in Wisconsin, in Prairie du Chien and in Boscoville, Wisconsin, and my aunt in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So it was always my goal to run one of the practices for my father when I got out of school. And then things changed when I met my lovely wife. And so we knew that we were going to need a little bit more than a real small town of about 1,500 people in Boscoville, Wisconsin, to pay off all the student loan debt that we had accrued over that 8 years of schooling together. And so initially we had kind of planned on going to Colorado, but as things changed, we decided to open up in our hometown here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, the capital of Wyoming.
So you wanted to avoid a small town, low population area by moving to the least populated state in the country?
Yes, that is correct, Mike.
So how's that worked out for you?
We've done pretty well. When we first started, I mean, we were literally pulling carpet samples out of trash bins to piece our carpet together. Made the most of a $40,000 loan, and now I've turned that into a practice that's thriving with 13 employees here currently. We're on track to have our best year ever. Last year was our best year ever. So
how about that? So I would love to take credit as AMI because you've been with us for just a little over a year now, right?
Well, I've been with you, since January of last year, but we've actually been had our medical services introduced as of April 4th, 2019. So
I got it.
Okay. For 1 year and 5 days.
But in all fairness, I think you and Savannah have never seen a downturn in your stats. Is that an accurate statement?
You know, actually, yeah, that is an accurate statement. I was trying to think if our first quarter was down, but actually our first quarter this year is, I think we're up almost $250,000 in our first quarter this year.
Wow. So the reason I wanted to talk to somebody like you is you are a doer. And so although our systems work very good at AMI, they don't work if somebody doesn't apply them, which happens a little too often. But you apparently are a doer and your wife is a doer and you both applied them. And you've done very well up until the coronavirus. So what we want to do now is we want to talk a little bit about what life has been like in your practice since the coronavirus. So let me ask you a couple of questions along those lines. So number one, I had these questions I wrote out for you and I just lost them. Here we go. So first of all, why did you decide to integrate, being from a chiropractic family? And then I guess the second part of that question is, did you get any flashback?
You know, a little bit of some flack from some of my family members right at first. My mother-in-law seemed to be the biggest one at first. She likes to fight us on things until she sees how they turn out. But it wasn't really that bad after people really saw how things started moving on. We've always wanted to integrate. We've heard about it for quite a while. My wife actually did her preceptorship at a clinic in Fort Collins, Colorado, that was integrated. And then a guy that I had worked for that I had done some preceptorship for as well too was also an integrated clinic, but not while I was doing his preceptorship. So I'd stayed pretty close with him, and I think he was actually one of your guys' first clients when you guys had initially started AMI.
Yep, he's a great guy as well. So so then tell me how it's been going well. The first year went really well. It sounds like even starting off this year, you're off to a really good start. But what have you done? Like, excuse me, when the coronavirus started becoming apparent, for us, it was really, we heard about it in January, we heard about it in February, but it really didn't start affecting things in our practice until March. So did you guys prepare for it, and how did you handle it when it started to become apparent there might be less people coming in and there might be a shutdown?
So there was some kind of preparation that we were doing beforehand. We had done some preparation beforehand. My wife's going to join us on the call. Are you okay with that, Mike?
I'm absolutely okay with that.
So this is my wife, Dr. Savannah. She had just
Savannah. Good to see you again. Congratulations on the new baby.
Thank you.
She just got done seeing some patients, so I got done a little bit early. So anyways, Though when the coronavirus first hit Wyoming and hit a lot of us and they started doing some of the shutdowns, we did have a pretty big drop off in a lot of patients that had canceled their appointments. And so we had opened up actually an extra day to try to spread things out for those who had fear of being in groups of large people. We did set aside separate times, working through our lunch hours, things along those lines, to get them into the office and to work with their schedules. There were some people that absolutely refused to come in. So what we would do then is we would schedule them out a few weeks later so that we would not lose them off of the books completely.
Right.
We have gotten some people back from that. Some of we've continued to move down, but we don't let them. We try not to let them fall off the schedule completely, and have a plan for when they do come back at getting their care rebooted.
So numbers wise, as far as people coming in your office, what was a typical day before the coronavirus?
We'd see up to 150 patients in a day, between the 3 to 4 providers we had working at that time.
Okay, and since the coronavirus has hit, what percentage, if you're tracking that, have you dropped off?
32, around there, 35.
Yeah, 32 to 35%. That was
About
right
a third.
away. Yeah, that was right away. I will say last week, I think we saw like 130 people on Thursday and actually had a really smoking week last week. Monday this week with some announcements they had on the news, I guess. We did have a lot of cancellations on Monday. The good thing about Monday is I can move them later down the week. And so I've been pretty solid all day the rest of the week.
So it was pretty smart on both of you guys' part to spread your hours out to give people more room. We discovered the same thing as well. We went as far as putting tape on our mat tables to show 6-foot intervals so that people would be able to keep that social distancing. But how did you communicate with your patients? What did you communicate with to them about the cleanliness of your office and the steps you were taking, and what steps did you take to prevent the spread of coronavirus?
So we did send out a mass email to all of our patients, letting them know how we are disinfecting, and that we will be accommodating on the schedules if necessary. We also sent out a mass text message to everybody here as well too. And a couple of our elderly patients or ones that really were immunocompromised, things along those lines, we actually went out of our way and even called some of those patients to try to shift them around, get them in, getting the care that they need, so they don't have a complete fall off from the progress that they've made.
Okay, that's interesting. You did the same thing that we did. We did a mass email and then we did a mass text. And have you had follow-ups to that?
Yeah, we've actually gotten a lot of response from it. What we've even done actually is this week and last week, I think, we took out a 1-page ad in the newspaper, an entire ad, and said that we're still open, new hours, call for accommodations. These are things that we treat, had a picture of our entire staff. We're here to get you through this.
Yeah.
And it is dirt cheap advertising because no one's advertising in the newspaper right now. So they're giving it to you right now. So we're taking as much advantage of that as we can.
Yeah.
I feel like if there ever is a time for someone to read a newspaper, it might be right around now. Otherwise, I haven't really cared too much about newspaper ads, I guess.
Well, people are getting a little bit rammy. We hear that from patients. I hear it from family members. They're getting a little bit like claustrophobic and having a little bit of cabin fever. So they're looking for things to do. So have you noticed that with your patients as well?
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. What really kind of ticked people off is they just shut down overnight park passes for people here in the state of Wyoming. And we have over 50% of the state is public land. So people are having a hard time even getting out in the least densely populated state in the lower 48. So,
wow. Well, hopefully they lift that soon. We have seen a change like you guys just mentioned this week as well. We started seeing the news affects people coming in. And we saw at the beginning of the week, over the weekend, everybody was saying this was going to be the worst week ever. But then I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, the head of the CDC, I forget his name, Dr. Robert something, said we apparently way overestimated the amount of deaths that are going to come from this virus. And our models were all wrong. It's going to be milder than we thought. And then we've seen a spike since then as well. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, we actually, like I said, Monday after the weekend of news was not the best. People just sat around and dwelled on the negative things. I'm wired a little bit differently. My wife and I are. We really don't have much or don't really do much of any watching of the news. I might Google like CBS Channel 5 Wyoming and see what's going on locally real quick for closings and things along those lines. But I don't let the media really taint how we do things here in our office outside of trying to abide by the guidelines of the CDC.
So that brings me into the next topics I wanted to talk to you about. How are you inspiring your staff, number one, and number two, how are you guys inspiring yourselves?
So we found other things to work on here in the office with having more hours and things along those lines. We're working on compliance here more so. We're actually completely redoing our software. So we're going to a new electronic health records billing software to become more compliant here as well too. But as far as motivating our staff, we do like to focus on the positives. We don't like to talk about the negatives when we're here in the office. We like to thank the staff, get direct compliments from our patients when we hear good news from them, and then let them know, hey, will you do me a favor when you're working with that staff member back in the rehab bay, where you let them know how well they're doing as well too, because they don't always get to hear the good things in life. They only get to hear the crap things. And so now that your shoulder is working 85% better, let her know. And that really kind of builds them up here a little bit more. We had a couple staff members that were drastically freaked out. But for the most part, everyone's on pretty level playing ground now.
We've had the same thing, and we've actually let those people, we said, if you feel better staying at home, just stay at home. And so some of them will have elected to do that, which worked out because we were spreading our hours out and spreading the patients out. So we didn't need as much staff at any given time. So this worked out well for us. But how about yourselves? Now, I know you two are wired differently than most people, because when I first met you, I immediately got that feeling. How do you keep each other going?
Oh,
jeepers.
Well, day to day, I remember when it first started, we both looked at each other and was like, well, we're not closing unless we're forced to close. A lot of people were asking us, oh, are you going to close and this and that? And we were like, absolutely not.
They'd have to put plywood on the door for me.
Yeah, they'd have to make us somehow lock that front door. But we talk about it every day. We vent with our frustrations. Our goals are definitely different. We're going through some other stuff too in the clinic, so losing a little sleep there, but tackling it head on. We just want to reach our goals. We set goals at the beginning of 2020, and we're not going to let something like coronavirus hinder us from reaching that day to day, week to week, month to month.
Great. So you said a couple things that made me, let me just look at my list here, because I don't want to miss any of the questions I told you I'd be talking about, but you're hitting, what I'm seeing from the two of you is you don't even think about motivating yourself, you can self-motivate. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's done some things. We do, her more than me, like to revisit a lot of our goals as well too. And we'll even go back as far as 7 years ago when we first opened the practice, where, I mean, Christ, I think our monthly goal is what we hope to make in a day now that we're integrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about where you're actually at. So have you been able to get new patients in during this crisis?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Last Thursday, I think we had 6 or 8 new patients.
No, I think it was 6. Yeah.
6 new patients last Thursday. Yeah. We're averaging about anywhere from 2 to 4 new patients a day still.
Now you're putting people on care plans, I take it, right?
Absolutely.
And you don't see a problem with that?
No.
Good. Neither do we. And that's probably because we think just like you. We had the same meeting. We're not going to shut down unless they force us to shut down. I don't live in the state of our clinic, so I got my managers to agree to that. And that's what they believe. They wanted to do that. So when we decided we're definitely going to stay open, then it was easier to go, well, then what are we going to do to keep people coming in? I am blown away how many new patients. We started 7 new patients on a care plan last week and 7 the week before. So yeah, well done. So to wrap up, your collections, and you don't have to reveal this if you don't want, but have they dropped off? Are you running into financial issues, or do you still feel comfortable?
No, we did our best month last month, right?
It wasn't our best month ever. It was our best month of March ever by over $150,000. So.
Wow. Well done. Well done. So what do you think the future is going to be? How do you think this is going to play out?
Man, so far we've hit not hit all of our goals, but came pretty darn close on all of them. And we have set lofty goals. Mm-hmm. So our plan this year still is to pay off the rest of our debt and buy a second clinic. Last year, we were able to pay off all student loan debt, pay off our home, and actually have no personal debt at all here anymore, as well as banking the rest of it for our next big investment opportunity. And we've all been able to do that because of you. So I really appreciate that a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
But our goals still are going to stay the same on our big goal of what we're trying to accomplish in the community and personally here as well, too.
Good. Well, we have a program that can help you with that second clinic that we should talk about, because I want to see you. I know you guys are going to succeed no matter what you do, but sometimes if you have the guidance of not walking down the wrong path, it can save you a little bit of heartache along the way. So I'm so glad you guys are doing so well. Our viewpoint was this: at AMI, we said, listen, if we get information out to our clients and inspire them to get information out to their patients, instead of just all the bad news we're all hearing, people will start hearing good news, and good news is always better than bad news. So thank you so much for doing that in the state of Wyoming.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Thank you guys too.
Okay.
I will say too, patients really are appreciating us because we're keeping the same environment as before. They look forward to coming in because it's a place of this feels the same as it did before, and they appreciate that.
It gets rid of the mundaneness that they do have in their life, getting to come in here and see smiling faces.
Yep.
Right. So. Awesome. Well done. Thank you for being part of the show, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
Mike.
great day.
So there you have it. 3 different viewpoints, 3 different size practices, 3 different stages of the integration process. And all 3 of these practices and the doctors in those practices, their viewpoint, the one common thread that you see with all of them is they're not giving up. They feel a responsibility to their patient base and to their community. All 3 of them are tackling it, confronting it, and saying, you know what? I don't care what's going on. People need help, and I'm going to help them. So hopefully this was inspiring to you as it was to me. It was very inspiring to talk to all 3 of these doctors. And hopefully this brings you some insight. Apparently it reassures to me and to Colleen that these webinars, which, have been kind of disruptive to our life, but, fun to do, talking to a lot of cool people, learning a lot of things. But I realize there's a lot of you out there using these podcasts to keep you on track and to inspire you, to help your community. And that was why we started this. This is not just for AMI doctors. We have opened this up to the public. I believe last week, Jamie gave me a stat and said that we've had over 60,000 views of our podcast since we started this about 3 weeks ago. And hopefully we'll continue that into the future. And we're proud and glad to help you any way we can. So thanks for tuning into this podcast. We'll be back tomorrow night, and we'll bring you more information. Thanks for listening.